You're listening to the micro version of the Savage Lovecast. www.savagelovecast.com.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on Savage Lovecast.
Donald Trump had one of his little fascist light rallies last week in Tampa, Florida, and he's going to have a lot of these rallies between now and the midterm elections. Hopefully the cable news networks, the quote-unquote mainstream media, not including Fox News, and that, of course, learn their lessons from the general election, where they would go live, unedited, and broadcast hours worth of Trump rallies. In the post-election analysis and the accounting, media critics estimated that the networks, the cable news networks, had given the Donald Trump campaign $1.5 billion-ish worth of free advertising over the course of the primaries and the general election, and helped the motherfucker win the election. Now, Donald Trump is going to be holding a bunch of rallies. He's been holding his little fascist hate rallies ever since he got into the White House, and he's planning to hold a bunch between now and the general election to crank up his base, to get his base out there to vote. There's probably two things that you heard about if you heard about the rally last week in Tampa. First, Donald Trump thinks you need to show an ID at the grocery store to buy a gallon of milk. Therefore, you should have to show an ID to vote. Bullshit on both counts. The second thing, the crowd was screaming and yelling and chanting at the media, flipping off everyone in the press pen. At Trump rallies, the media herded into pens where they can be easily identified, and where Trump at some of these rallies has encouraged the crowd to turn to the media and scream and yell and chant. Jim Acosta, reporter from CNN, did a stand-up from the rally live on Wolf Blitzer's show. And here's what he said at the end of his stand-up.
And Wolf, just to give you a sense as to what's happening right now, you can hear there is a chorus of boos and other chants from this Trump crowd here in Tampa, Florida. They're saying things like CNN sucks, go home, and fake news. Wolf, obviously, all of those things are false. We're staying right here. We're going to do our job and report on this rally to all of our viewers here tonight.
At first, when you watch that video and you see what's being done to the media, you feel bad for the media. And then you give it a moment's thought and you have to ask yourself, Jim Acosta, everybody else from the national media, what the fuck are you doing at this Trump rally? To CNN's credit, they are no longer broadcasting these rallies unedited, but this report that Acosta did from the rally, they went to him live at the rally. He did a little bit of stand-up, introed a reported piece with clips that weren't from the rally and reporting that wasn't done at the rally, and then they go back live to the rally where the crowd is chanting CNN sucks, fake news, and flipping off Jim Acosta. And again, the question that I think that we have to ask CNN and Jim Acosta and assignment editors and Jeff Zuckerberg, what the fuck are you doing at this rally? There is nothing in Acosta's report that couldn't have been done from outside the rally. Why does the media keep showing up at this Punch and Judy show? Why do the media keep showing up and climbing into Donald Trump's dunk tank at these rallies? Yes, something newsworthy could happen at this rally. Something newsworthy could happen at any Donald Trump rally. But you don't have to have a pen full of reporters at that rally being used as a prop by the President of the United States to crank up his base in advance of the midterm elections to report on that rally. You can set up one camera in the back of the room, and Jim Acosta can be safely ensconced in CNN studios to comment on what's going on. He could be outside the building in a safe, undisclosed location, and then if something truly newsworthy goes on, he can rush in and start reporting. But there's no reason, in particular, for this stand-up to exist. Didn't need to set up this report inside the rally. Didn't need to go back to Acosta after the report to wrap it out. What the fuck are you doing there, Jim Acosta? Why are you allowing Trump to use you in this way? This way that by now you know you are being used. Same goes for every other representative of the mainstream media at that rally. And at all of the rallies coming up, when you show up with your CNN badges and your MSNBC badges and your NBC News badges and your ABC News badges and your Washington Post badges and your New York Times badges, you are playing into Trump's hands. The media should stop going to these rallies. Stop assisting Trump in cranking up his base. Stop allowing yourself to be used by the manipulator in chief in the White House in this way. Not much happens at these rallies that can't be covered off a live feed, off of one shared pool camera that all the networks have access to the feed from. We've got an election coming up, very important midterm election. It is not hyperbolic to say that our democracy, the future of the planet, future of the Atlantic Alliance, future of NATO, all of that hangs in the fucking balance. And we all need to err on the side of not doing anything that's going to help Trump turn out his deranged, shrieking, ranting voters this November. Jim Acosta, I am talking to you. No more live stand-ups. No more live, useless, unnecessary stand-ups from Trump rallies. Stop letting Trump use you. Consider it penance for all the damage and harm that you guys did in the run-up to the general election in 2016. Coming up on the micro edition of the Savage Lovecast this week, tons of your Qs, lots of my As, and on the Magnum subscription edition of the Savage Lovecast, which is twice as long and no ads, AMP from the Sex and Kink Education YouTube channel, Watts the Safeword joins us to discuss a phenomenon familiar to people in kink and BDSM circles, subdrop. Thanks to Roman for supporting the Savage Lovecast. Roman is a men's health company that offers remote online diagnosis for ED and convenient monthly delivery of medication. For $50 off your first month, visit getroman.com/savage. Today's episode is brought to you by Stamps.com. Stamps.com brings all the services of the U.S. Postal Service right to your fingertips. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail using your own computer and printer. And right now you can enjoy the Stamps service with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in my code, SAVAGE. That's Stamps.com, click the mic, enter SAVAGE. This episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by AdamandEve.com. Get 50% off one item and free shipping when you enter the offer code SAVAGE at checkout.
Hi, Dan. I'm a 40-year-old woman. I've been married for 18 years, together for 20. We had affairs in the beginning, and then we broke up. And after 6 months, we got back together and actually had real conversations about not only having sex with one person forever. I've always identified as bi. He is straight. And we've kind of had this really great understanding. We have 3 rules. 3 rules are, number 1, don't ask, don't tell. So if you happen to come across a text message or an email or a charge on a credit card, just leave it be. With a caveat, though, if you have to know, you're allowed to ask, and each of us can choose to tell or not tell, but you can at least ask. Rule number 2 is don't embarrass the family. Don't sleep with our children's, school teacher or the neighbor. Just keep it discreet and private. And rule number 3 is, don't get sick. Use condoms. Don't get someone pregnant. Don't get pregnant. And it's worked well. So the reason I'm calling is I've been dating a woman recently who I really, really like, and I have told her a couple times, don't fall in love. I'm clearly committed to my marriage. We've always said as long as the relationship is intact, it's fine. But she challenges that, and I don't know how to draw that boundary. How do you keep the really hot, intense new relationship, energy, all the good stuff going without kind of ruining it with the logistics of, hey, listen, this is never going to go any further.
You lay out your rules. Don't ask, don't tell, and leave it be. That's a really good rule. I like that rule. If you have to know, you're allowed to ask, and the person can tell or not tell. And then you say you're dating a woman, not just having sex with somebody else, not just a little outside sex, a little recreational outside sexual contact, but a relationship. And it seems to me that that's in conflict with the whole DADT thing. Don't ask, don't tell. Tells just aren't verbal. Tells are also situational. And to have a concurrent romantic relationship with somebody else is kind of a situational tell. That's going to come out. That's not something that you can hide or bury. So that's your first mistake. Not just that you're fucking around with somebody else on the side, but you are dating. This is a romantic connection. The other problem here is that the person that you're dating is making demands on you. She's asking for things that you can't give her without really violating not just the terms of your open relationship with your husband, but risking your marriage with your husband. She's making emotional and social demands on you. She wants to be a partner too. DADT and a partner too, those things don't really go together, because DADT means discretion. DADT means we can move through life being perceived to be socially monogamous, and even in a sense, suspending our disbelief and perceiving each other to be in a monogamous relationship, that we are in a monogamous relationship, that you are monogamous to me and I am perceived to be monogamous to you, and vice versa, because whatever else goes on outside our relationship is so discreet so as to barely be detectable. Again, not just to people who aren't a part of our relationship or are outside of our relationship, but even to each other. And you can't reconcile that kind of openness agreement, the DADT style openness agreement, with concurrent romantic relationships, particularly if your partner is sitting there, your other partner is sitting there and saying, I am your girlfriend. I have a right to see you on Christmas. I have a right to see you on my birthday. I have a right to X, Y, and Z. The sad fact is, if you are committed to your relationship, if you want to draw a boundary, you need to dump this woman. She's begun to make demands on you that you cannot fulfill without violating the terms of your open agreement with your husband. Now, you can go to your husband and renegotiate those terms. Just like at the beginning of your relationship 20 years ago, you renegotiated terms because your lived experience earlier in your relationship was in conflict with what you had agreed to and probably what you both thought you wanted, because that was what you were told good people wanted. You wanted to be good people. And you realized because of the cheating early on that you had to make some other kind of compact or agreement to make your relationship work for who you two were in reality. And you can renegotiate. You can reopen those negotiations again now. And go to your husband and say, DADT has worked for a very long time, 20 years. But what I'm interested in now, or what I seem to be tiptoeing toward now, is polyamory, concurrent romantic relationships. And you can't do that and DADT. So if I'm not allowed to do that, and I'm not willing to allow you to do that as well, then I probably need to dump this woman. But I just wanted to check in with you first to see where you're at. And then maybe you can keep this woman in your life as your girlfriend, but that's a public role. Girlfriend, spouse, can't hide those people, particularly from each other.
Hi, Dan. I'm a 54-year-old gay man, and I've been out since I was 15. This was my question for you, and I don't know if I'm the only person that feels this way, but when I was young, I was very pretty, and I'm femme. I don't try to hide it. I don't try to be anything that I'm not. I know that I'm very obvious. It's very obvious that I'm gay, and when I was young and pretty and thin, it worked. Now I am 54. I appear a lot more masculine than I act. When I say that, I mean like when I put my picture on Grindr or Scruff, any of the apps, I appear to be masculine. I have a beard. I have the whole thing going with that guy seem to like. But unfortunately, once I meet the guys, we finally meet up in a coffee shop or what have you, they're instantly turned off by this. I shaved off my beard, and I've tried just going out as me, and it still seems to be the same thing. I really don't, at 54 years old, understand all of these little names that we all have now, such as Otter or Daddy or any of those. They don't make sense to me. And I'm not saying I don't know what they mean. I'm saying for me they don't work. I'm just a person. But I certainly, even at 54, feel very uncomfortable being a daddy. Actually, I would probably feel more comfortable being a mommy because like I said, I'm much more feminine than I am a masculine guy. Which brings me to another quick thing is I'm also versatile top, bottom, which throws people off too because they just the whole big confusion thing. They see my picture, they think I'm a top, and they meet me, and if they're not turned off by the fact that I'm feminine acting, then they automatically assume that I'm a bottom. And I I don't know. I'm just really confused. I'm having like an identity crisis at 54 on what I actually can do to meet guys, yet not turn them off at the beginning once we first meet and have everything out there.
You have to stop wasting your time on guys who are looking for mask top daddy types. And that means just putting it out there on your Grindr profile, putting yourself out there in all your complications and contradictions. And you're not really that complicated or that contradictory. You've aged into a more kind of daddy-ish look, but you're still the guy you are, your authentic self, which is a little bit more femme presenting. And I think you should just say that. There are guys out there in the world who are attracted to more feminine guys. I am one of those guys. We hear all about the Mask for Mask boys these days, and people talk about Mask for Mask like it's some new thing, and it's a tragedy, and it's a sad indictment of where the gay community has gone and where gay men's sexual fantasies and their roles and archetypes have gone. And that's just bullshit. This is not a new thing. Mask for Mask now, you know what that was called 15, 20, 30 years ago? Straight acting and appearing. I will take Mask for Mask over straight acting and appearing any day. And there's a lot of people out there who are suggesting that the Mask for Mask boys are performing masculinity. And that's true. You do see those guys who the masculinity is performative, that this is an act, and they have to edit and police themselves, and they are monitoring their every expression, every hand movement, every step, every leg cross to make sure it is mask presenting. But then there are some guys who are just kind of authentically masculine-ish, and this isn't performative for them. And we don't want to lump the fakers in with the authentic mask guys and condemn them all. We have to allow for the fact that some people's authentic gender expression is traditionally masculine or traditionally feminine. And that's okay too. It's the people who are paranoid about seeming, the gay guys who are paranoid about seeming the least bit feminine, who are annoying. You, caller, you are one of those gay guys. You are slightly femme or very femme in your mannerisms and your behavior and your interests, and you just have to own that and put that out there. And there will be guys who are into you and into that conflict and into that contrast between your look, that beard, your daddyish presentation, and your more feminine soul side presentation, your mannerisms. And those guys are likelier to embrace your versatility. So when you put it out there on Grindr, put it all out there on Grindr, and then you won't find yourself in a coffee shop with someone who's really invested in you being a mask top, ass ramming daddy type. Because those guys will know not to waste their time on you because you aren't that, even though at first glance, that may be how you would be classified or how you appear or how some people might assume you move through the world sexually based on that beard and your age. So put it out there. Mask presenting in a photograph, but femish in reality and in person. And if you can't deal, fuck off. Say it like that. And you will attract the guys who not only can deal, but who are into it, who are into you and into your contrasts and conflicts and how interesting and complicated a person you are now, the interested, complicated person you've aged into being with your authentic sort of femme personality and self now rolled out, now moving through the world in a more cliche mask presenting look and type and body. Enjoy that frisson, enjoy that, the tension there. That itself for many guys is going to be sexy, but you're going to have to work maybe a little bit harder to find those guys and put it out a little bit more emphatically to attract them. Sex matters, and sexual fulfillment is tied to happiness and satisfaction. We live in a sex-negative culture, though, a culture that sometimes treats erectile dysfunction like it's a joke. But it's not. Getting the meds men need to have a healthy, happy sex life is something I'm 100% behind. Roman is a men's health company that offers remote online diagnosis for erectile dysfunction and convenient monthly delivery of medication. We hear over and over on the show how men don't like to talk about their health, especially when it comes to ED. It can be difficult, a sensitive topic, something it can be hard to look somebody in the eye and open up about. But ED is an example of something men should not ignore and should be able to talk about. In some cases, issues with performance are a sign of larger underlying health problems going on inside your body. Still, many guys just dismiss the symptoms. Roman makes it incredibly easy to get the right medication if it's appropriate. Here's how Roman works. Roman handles everything from online diagnosis to prescription delivery for ED meds. All it takes is 5 minutes to do an online survey about your medical history, where you can also give your preference of medication. U.S. licensed physicians review treatment requests within 2 hours and write a prescription if appropriate. Your medication will be delivered free to your door. The medicine will be delivered by Roman Pharmacy Network in discreet packaging marked as RHP. Refills happen automatically every month or quarter. For $50 off your first month, go to getroman.com/savage. That's getroman.com/savage.
Hey, Dan. I'm calling from Dublin in Ireland. And basically my question is, when do you leave an ex and not contact them, and when do you have an excuse to confront them with their shitty behaviour? So a bit of background, I'm from Dublin but was living on the East Coast and met a guy, and we were together for 14 months in total, and during that time my visa ran out and I had to move home and kind of wait out some visa regulations until I could come back. But he really pushed to go long distance. We were planning to live together, like we were in it. The relationship wasn't perfect. One of the huge issues was he essentially hid me. Like, I never met his friends. He didn't really come out and meet my friends. We traveled across America together. We went to Mexico. He came over to Ireland. We traveled a lot, and there was never a single picture of me anywhere, nor did he ever mention that he had a girlfriend on social media or anything. I wasn't allowed to post pictures with his face. And yes, this should have been a red flag, but I had been in an abusive relationship before and had also been kind of hidden, and I think I just thought it was normal. But basically in April, we planned to travel across Europe in June, but then some really cheap flights came up. So I said, hey, I can come over and visit you for a week. And he texted me back and said, yes, please, I love you. Let's talk about it tomorrow. And then I never heard from him again. Never. I thought he had died. And I spent about 2 weeks during this, within the first 3 days of him kind of not responding. I actually ended up in hospital and texted him going, hi, I'm scared. Please call your girlfriend. Nothing. And then I spent about 3 weeks maybe trying to get in touch with him, calling him, texting him. Not excessively, definitely not as much as I wanted to. But I think I was pretty generous as well, saying, look, if this is over, if you've met someone, if you cheated, if long distance is hard, I get that, but let's have the conversation. This was generally a good relationship. Let's just respect it. Nothing. So I found it really hard to cope with it and have a lot of trust issues now and feel quite worthless and dehumanized, and I'm trying to grapple with that. The thing is, he's now with someone else. She is posting pictures of him online. He's not posting pictures, but she's allowed to. And I'm going to be in his city in August, end of August, start of September. And I don't know whether I should turn up and go, hey, you fucking owe me a conversation. You owe me an explanation and an apology. Or if that would just be painful and slightly useless. I think for me, it's probably not going to undo any of the damage at this stage. It's done. He doesn't have a good excuse. But surely these people don't get to just get away with this stuff, right? Surely there should be a moment where they have to confront the person they've hurt and apologize. I don't really know. So any advice would be great. Thanks.
Unfortunately, people do get away with stuff in the romantic sphere that they shouldn't be able to get away with, but they get away with it all the time. People ghost on people all the time. All's fair, they say, or they used to say. And if anyone is out there still saying it, they should really stop. But all's fair in love and war. We probably need a relationship version of the Geneva Conventions to cover those things that aren't fair in love. I'm not talking about things that are criminal. Those things are, of course, not fair in love. You're not allowed to abuse a partner in a way that is criminal. But there are lots of things people do to their partners that aren't criminal, that aren't fair and aren't kind. And people get away with those things all the time. What you want is closure. And as I've said about 700,000 million times, closure is not a gift you're given by another person. Closure isn't a gold watch someone gives you about your retirement from a relationship. Closure is something you do for yourself. You close that fucking door and you move the fuck on, and you learn whatever lessons you need to learn from that relationship, which is not to say that you were the bad actor here, but there's some shit that you should be aware of now. This is the second time you've been in a relationship with someone who hid you. Do not be hidden. Being hidden, lots of different types of people have experience with that and how traumatizing that can be. Trans folks who date cis folks who don't want their friends and families to know that they're attracted to or with someone who is transgender, and they hide the transgender boyfriend or girlfriend. Large women who date guys who don't want their friends to think they're into bigger women or attracted to this particular bigger woman, and so they hide the big woman. They hide the girlfriend who's larger. Gay guys have experience with this. Gay guys, particularly younger gay guys. I did this. A lot of us date guys when we are young who are not yet out of the closet, and we are the hidden secret boyfriends, and we submit to that, and we sneak around the dirty little secret. That's no fun. And people of color who date folks, become romantically involved with folks who hide them, hide the black boyfriend, hide the Hispanic or Muslim girlfriend because their families are so racist and bigoted. And what you learn when you've been hidden once or twice is not to put up with that shit ever again. And so what you say to yourself coming out of this relationship, you may never know why this guy ghosted you. Something was up. It is not normal to hide someone that you've been dating for more than a year. Something was up. There was some reason, particularly that he wanted to hide you, because he ain't hiding his new girlfriend. I'm curious how you managed to find your way to his new girlfriend's Instagram account if he isn't posting any pictures of her, but all right. That he hid you for a reason. I don't know what that reason is. But going forward, just like I said to myself when I was 20, I am never going to be anybody's secret again. No closeted guy's secret boyfriend ever again. You say to yourself, I am never going to be anybody's secret girlfriend ever again. That's the closure that you want. You learn that lesson, you close that door. And in a way, for having learned that lesson, you're less likely to be abused like this by someone else in the future. Your relationships in the future will be healthier because of the lesson you learned in this relationship or in your last two relationships where you were the hidden secret girlfriend. Never ever be that hidden secret girlfriend again. All right, you're also going to be in his city soon. You might run into him. All's fair. Love and more. Not war. Love still. Anything that's not criminal. Fair-ish. Not good, not decent, not kind, but allowed, permissible. People can get away with it. I don't think things you get away with are necessarily fair. Fair doesn't just mean you can get away with it. But you, if for your own sense of sanity, you want to show up someplace where you know he's going to be and walk up to him and say, dude, what the fuck? That's fair. You can totally do that. You're not likely to get an answer that will satisfy you. You're not likely to get an answer that's better than the lesson that you've learned in this relationship, which is not to put up with this kind of shit, the kind of shit he put you through, the kind of shit your previous boyfriend put you through, ever again. Never again, The Secret. These days, you can get practically everything on demand, like our podcast. You listen whenever you want, when it's convenient for you. So why are you still taking trips to the post office to mail letters and packages when you can get postage on demand at home with Stamps.com? With Stamps.com, you can access all the amazing services of the post office right from your desk 24/7 when it is convenient for you. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, using your own computer and your own printer, and the mail carrier picks it up at your house. Just click print mail and you are done. Could not be easier. And right now you can use Savage for a special offer that includes up to $55 free postage, a digital scale, and a 4-week trial. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com. Before you do anything else, click on the radio microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Savage. That's Stamps.com. Enter SAVAGE.
Hi, Dan and the tech-savvy at-risk youth. So I'm a straight guy in my 20s living in the Midwest. And I guess my question is about being unconventionally straight. Ever since I was a kid, I've always been interested in characters like Wonder Woman and Xena Warrior Princess. And while I don't necessarily want a woman like that exactly, I've always been drawn to basically a truly egalitarian relationship, at least from my perspective. A woman who's strong just like I am, I can be strong too, and there's no subtle woman on the bottom, man on the top kind of stuff going on. I find that most straight girls that I've interacted with are, even if they say they want an equal relationship, there's some sort of subtle, I guess, assumption that I will be the stronger one of the two, or that they don't want to take charge maybe the way that I would like them to. And I know that's definitely not the norm, and I accept that it's not the common thing. And I guess my question is whether or not it's really a legitimate desire to acknowledge, and if it's something that I should actually keep in mind when I'm seeing people, or maybe I should just toss it to the side, and if it happens, it happens, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. I guess another important part is that I am still a virgin in my 20s. It's mainly because of my religious upbringing, and in the past year and a half, I have let that go, and I've been going on dates and working on myself and seeing people and dancing with girls and that kind of thing. So I've expanded my horizons a bit, just on a basic level. So I know that I might be reaching a bit here, but I just want to see if there's anything about my approach that I can refine or change, or maybe I just need to be told that I need to slow down. Who knows?
So usually when a guy calls, or I'm talking to some straight guy and he cites Wonder Woman or Xena, the warrior princess, as his ideal mate, what comes next is he wants a femdom relationship.
Yeah.
That he wants to be submissive to the powerful woman. But that's not what you want.
Yeah, exactly. Not exactly. I don't think so, no.
What do you mean by not exactly? I don't think so, no. You're equivocating there. And is that because you're embarrassed to say that that is indeed what you want, a femdom relationship? Because a lot of people are embarrassed to say that or nervous about saying that. And so they'll kind of ask for what they want without owning what they want. What is it that you want?
I think the reason why I hesitate is because I don't think I'm opposed to it, but it's not what I'm actively seeking either. Does that make sense?
Wait. No, that's just more equivocation. What do you jack off about? What do you think about when you think about, like, the woman of your dreams? What does it look like? And maybe I'm being a little too hard on you, and I should let it go.
No.
But it's almost invariable when somebody says, "Oh, my ideal is Wonder Woman, Xena." That, you know, Wonder Woman and her magic rope. Like, that's what they want. They want the Amazon, who's in charge.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think that the reason why I hesitate is because I think, based on people I've talked to and what I've seen in porn and stuff, it's very black and white. Like, it's either like total like submission and degradation and all that stuff. I think that's the part that turns me off, but I definitely like the idea of the domination part. So I think I'm just hesitating because I'm not in the black or white kind of a thing, but I'm definitely, the short answer is yes.
Okay.
I'll just say yes.
outside of porn, no relationship with dom sub dynamics is like degradation and bondage all the time, and it tends to be something that, you know, maybe is on the back burner, or it's this subtle vibe or hum in the relationship, and then at times it's more exaggerated and pronounced because you're having sex, or you're you know, turning it up to 11 because you both enjoy it, and it's there, and you can turn it up to 11, and it's a part of your relationship dynamic. It's not the only dynamic in the relationship. That would be exhausting.
Yeah.
You know, people talk about 24/7, 365 dom sub relationships and somebody living in a cage in the basement, and that doesn't really happen. Right?
Yeah.
You know,
that sounds a lot more reasonable.
It's something that can enhance a relationship if it's what both people want. It's a spice, it's a flavor. It can often be, you know, detectable, like that spice and flavor is there. And sometimes, you know, you dump all the curry powder in this weekend because you're just really going for it.
Yeah, if we were to rewind and I kept that in mind, then my answer is yes then.
Okay, well, I would encourage you to get involved in the BDSM community, leather fetish community, depending on where you live. Get yourself to a munch, meet some people who are in the kink community, who are in the quote-unquote kink lifestyle, and you'll see the different ways in which people structure their relationships when there's a dom-sub dynamic that both people enjoy and it's completely consensual and both people opt into. Your particular challenge as a straight guy is that powerful women get it through their heads that that's a problem for most straight men, and they will downplay it or suppress it. And sometimes, there's a lot of people, straight guys out there with dominant female partners, and often they had to not grow them, not, train their partner to be dom in a way, but find a woman who that was something that worked for them and that they responded to, and really empower that woman to take that power role in the relationship. And a lot of it,
that makes sense.
And the bigger the city that you live in, the more options you're going to have. Kinky people like gays and lesbians, like queers, are a tiny percentage of the population. I think there are probably more kinky straight people in real numbers than there are queer people in their entirety. But in bigger cities where people clump up, you are likelier to have more choices. And they're likely to be the kind of kink scene that will attract women and men and others and open that up for them. And give them permission to,
I'm
for
not
what
too
they
far
want.
from Chicago right now, so
get your ass to Chicago. I'm sure there's an organized kink scene. I'm sure there are munches in Chicago. If you just start Googling, you'll find your way in. And then you should be honest with the women you date. People who are kinky, you move on every front. You go to IML in Chicago, and there's two kinds of people you meet. You meet people who were kinky when they were 13 years old, and you meet the people who fell in love with those people and grew into it. So move on all fronts, get involved in the kink scene, but also continue to date women that you meet through Tinder, through Bumble, but be honest about your kinks, be honest about your sexual interests, and that you want a female-led relationship, that you are interested in femdom dynamics. And you should also do a little reading, and I would recommend Playing Well with Others, Your Field Guide to Discovering, Navigating, and Exploring the Kink, Leather, and BDSM Communities by Lee Harrington and Molina Williams. It's a terrific primer. It's a terrific entry point, and it'll reset your expectations so they're more realistic. If your expectations about kink and BDSM and dom sub and femdom have all been set by pornography, you have unrealistic expectations.
And I think part of it is that it seemed like this big scary thing, and I think maybe it's a lot more inclusive and friendly than I think it is. So maybe I just need to explore, like you said.
When people write about their kinky relationship or porn is made about kinky relationships, they don't make porn about making breakfast on Sunday morning or cleaning the house or hanging out with your parents or your friends. The porn is made about those moments when you turn it up to 11. Nobody can live at 11.
Yeah. That's very true. That's a good point.
You don't live vanilla sex and erotics and vanilla sexual dynamics at 11 all the time either in a vanilla relationship. That you can't do that. And it doesn't work in DS, BDSM either. You can't live it at 11. And sometimes it's just a subtle little thread that runs through the relationship where the dominant partner has the right to push that button when they want to push that button, but otherwise the kink or the submission or the dominance can seem dormant or absent, but it's there. And it's something that both partners can opt into when they want to.
You literally put words to what I couldn't put words to. So I really appreciate that.
That's why I get paid the big podcasting bucks.
Exactly.
Good luck to you. And one last bit of advice. Your kinks ain't cancer. You meet somebody through a non-kinky space and you want to tell them about your kinks. It's not a tearful confession. These aren't, it's not a cancer diagnosis. It's Christmas morning. These are gifts. These are presents. This is something exciting about me that I wanted to share with you. Maybe it means we're not compatible. And you need to steel yourself because a lot of people, their first reaction when someone that they're interested in or they've fallen in love with or developed feelings for and they reveal a kink is negative because we live in a sex negative, kink negative culture. And people will say no, like, oh my God, no, when they should just say, really? Oh, and allow you to keep talking and let them sit with it. And often, when the kink is confessed, somebody has a negative reaction. And then if you revisit that couple in a few years' time, they're at IML. They're at the big kink event together, and the vanilla partner has grown into it and discovered that it works for them too, and that there's pleasure and joy for them there as well. And most guys in femdom relationships, it was his idea, not her idea.
Yeah,
So don't,
that's very true.
Don't fear the initial negative reaction.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of practice, but I think that little bit of negative reaction I've had before is probably what has scared me. So
it can be very inhibiting. It can be very inhibiting because we all fear rejection. But if somebody has a colossally negative reaction, if they consider it disqualifying, that's rejection you want to invite because you don't want to waste your time on that person. She's not the right partner for you. So if you tell someone and she's like, deal breaker, I'm out, you should be like, okay, thank you. Goodbye. Mm-hmm. If you tell someone and she's like, oh my God, I don't know how I feel about that. I need to think about that. We should keep talking about that. That might be the woman whose feet you kiss every day when you get home from work 5 years from now.
Yeah. Awesome.
Good luck.
Well, thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Here at the Savage Lovecast, we have an imperative that we take seriously, making sure you and your partners have the best orgasms you possibly can. And for this reason, we are huge fans of sex toys. So why not head over to adamandeve.com. Right now, they're offering 50% off just about any item, which is incredible, plus free shipping on your entire order, also incredible. So what do you have to do to get your 50% off one item and free shipping? It's not hard. Just go to adamandeve.com and select any one item. It could be an adventurous new toy or anything you desire. Just enter offer code SAVAGE at checkout and you'll get 50% off almost any item. Go check out adamandeve.com today, select one item, get 50% off, including free shipping. Again, when you enter offer code SAVAGE. That's SAVAGE, SAVAGE at adamandeve.com.
Hey, Dan. I just got back from my personal trainer and I have a question. It's not as sexy fun as it sounds, but he talks a lot about his church and the people at his church, and he's really involved in his church. And I am at a point where I either need to buy more sessions or not. Basically, I'm just wondering if I should say to him when I see him next, you know, what do you think about same-sex marriage? What do you think about queer people? I'm straight myself, but I hope to be a strong ally and have already done things like, you know, when we chat about the weekend, say I was at Pride, or I talk about my partner as my partner, and there's never been an indication that he has a problem. We're also in Canada, where I feel like to some extent a lot of this questions about same-sex marriage, for example, have been put a little more to bed than elsewhere in the world. But I don't know. I just wonder whether it makes sense to just sort of check in with him about it before I continue to work with him, or if I should just take the fact that he's given me absolutely no indication that he has a problem and roll with it. I have been terrified of the gym for a long time and finally took plunging, got a trainer, and it's been awesome. So I do want to keep the relationship good if possible, but don't want to be supporting someone who is homophobic.
A lot of powerful, fully politicized, fully weaponized evangelical Christian leaders have worked hard, have spent decades working to make homophobia synonymous with evangelical Christian. The polling, however, at least on the issue that you cite, on same-sex marriage, shows that there is a distinct and wide and growing generational divide. Pew poll from 2017 found that support for same-sex marriage among evangelical Christians had grown from 27% in the early 2000s to 35% now. Not a 10-point jump, but significant. The most interesting data in this Pew Research poll, though, was about young evangelical Christians, which they tagged or pegged as those who were born after 1964. I was born in 1964. I feel like I'm pretty old, but they say that those are young evangelical Christians, Gen X and millennial evangelical Christians. I assume your personal trainer at your gym is not Pat Robertson's age, is not Tony Perkins's age. I assume he is not my age. I assume he's probably significantly younger than I am. Most of the personal trainers I see at the gyms I frequent are in their 20s, in their 30s, millennials. And support for same-sex marriage among young evangelical Christians is at 47%. Nearly half of all evangelical Christians born after 1964 support same-sex marriage. I bet if you broke that data out even further and sliced it a little more thinly and just looked at evangelical Christians under 30 or under 40, that it would be majority support for same-sex marriage. So, odds are, coin flip, at least half, that your personal trainer, who didn't rise to the bait when you mentioned going to Pride, supports same-sex marriage. And again, the political wing of the evangelical movement, it's worked so hard to make homophobia and opposition to same-sex marriage and queer existences synonymous with Christianity, not just evangelical Christianity, but Christianity itself, created such a PR problem for Christianity in the process, that I sometimes fall prey to the same impulse that you suffered. Somebody tells me that they're an evangelical Christian, they go to some mega church, they have this personal relationship with Jesus, they were born again, I think, hates me, bigot, anti-same-sex marriage. And I have to remind myself that, looking at the data, that ain't necessarily so. In fact, it is a stereotype that political evangelical Christians have worked hard to promote and create. They say that same-sex marriage, they say the existence of queer people at all is an attack, some sort of existential attack on Christianity. It's anti-Christian. We can't let them get away with that. There are plenty of Christians out there who are queer themselves. There are plenty of Christians out there who are supportive of same-sex marriage. My mom is always the example I like to cite. My mom talked a lot about her church. My mom was a Jesus person in a profound way. And my mom fully supported same-sex marriage, queer people adopting, the rights of trans people, reproductive freedom. My mom was a liberal, church-going Jesus person. Maybe your personal trainer is as well. If you are uncomfortable writing checks and giving tips to someone who is anti the rights of your queer friends, ask him. You talk a lot about Jesus, you talk a lot about church. Not all evangelical Christians are anti-gay, but I'm just curious where you come down on the marriages of my friends who are queer. See what he says. Odds are, if he's under 30 or under 35 or under 40, he's down with it. He's fine with it. He's okay with it. And you can continue to patronize your personal trainer with a clear conscience.
Hey, Dan. Straight male from the Southeast here, calling in reference to the caller in episode 614, who said that he was conflicted about a recent experience with someone regarding consent. As a person who can identify with what he was saying, I think that you hit the mark on the head. However, I feel like there was a very small detail that was overlooked here, which is that you can always say, as a male, knowing that your duty is to be clear and have consent, to also say, hey, it's okay if you say no. There will be no negative repercussions. I will not lash out in any way, shape, or form. You are in a safe place. If you say no, I understand that means no. I won't get butthurt. So just throwing it out there, you can definitely say that.
Hi, Dan. I've got a comment for the woman in episode 614 whose ex won't let her see his kid because of his psycho-abusive ex-partner. And I just want to say I'm a late 40s woman and I date almost exclusively men who have ex-wives and often who have kids. And about 95% of them claim that their ex is psycho or abusive, which statistically means that there are a hell of a lot of women running around who are psycho and abusive. And I just always now take those claims with a grain of salt. There may be a completely different reason why he doesn't now want his girlfriend to see his kid because the kid is speaking and the ex will know about the girlfriend. It may be that they're not actually really separated and he doesn't want her to know he's got a girlfriend because she thinks they're separated and they're not. Or he may have told her that it's a trial separation. Or he may have left her because, or she may have kicked him out because he was having an affair. Why did they split up when they had a 1-year-old child? So I just think always for women, when you're dating men who have ex-wives or mothers of their kids, just take it with a grain of salt when they tell you that their ex is psychotic or abusive or mentally ill or unstable or a terrible mother. They all say that. And in the vast majority of cases, it's not true.
Hey, Dan, this is in response to the caller who had called in to see whether or not it was kosher to incorporate a lollipop during oral. Holy crap, I was dying throughout that entire episode. Dan, you nailed it on the head when you had said that incorporating food into sex is a sexual fantasy of a 16-year-old. Yeah, I have experience doing just that. When I was 16, my partner and I thought it would be a good idea to use whipped cream in and around my vagina during sex. While I did not get a yeast infection, I did get the worst UTI of my life. I was in so much pain that my mother had to bring me to the ER and sit with me while I explained to nurses while I was there. So not only was it humiliating, but it was also not sexy at all and extremely painful. So yeah, I would recommend playing with food before or after sex, but dear God, not during.
And we're going to leave it there. 206-302-2064 is the number here at the Savage Lovecast. If you'd like to record a question or a comment for a future show, give us a buzz. 206-302-2064. The deadline for entering Hump, my dirty little film festival, is coming up in mid-September. You're going to want to make your Hump films now. Go to humpfilmfest.com and click on Submit for information on entering Hump. There's $20,000 in cash prizes awarded to the filmmakers by audience ballot, including a $10,000 Best in Show award. And every filmmaker whose film goes out on tour with the Hump Tour in 2019 gets a percentage of every single ticket sold on the tour. We are a good deal for filmmakers, also a good deal and a great deal and a fun deal for audiences. For more info, go to humpfilmfest.com. Follow AMP from What's the Safeword on Twitter at pup_AMP. And you should definitely check out AMP's videos at What's the Safeword on YouTube, and that's Watt spelled W-A-T-T-S. The Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartunian and me and the tech-savvy at-risk youth and Nancy. And I'll be back at you next week for an installment of Savage Lovecast.